Obviously, going against the Steelers team with a quarterback you're familiar with and Justin Fields, what do you thought of his play so far this season and what makes him difficult to game plan for?
Justin's an incredible guy. I mean, just an incredible competitor, great teammate. I can only imagine that those guys love playing for him. And he's a competitor, so he's going to bring it every single play. He doesn't have any back down. There's no excuses with that guy. That guy goes in balls, and so it'll be great to see him. And I know that our defense will have a big challenge going up against them.
Antonio said it's always part of the process to kind of pick the brain of people that know players and things like that. And he said he did talk to you about Justin. Like, how does that go? Do you sit on defensive meetings? Do you just give them information? Like, how does that process kind of work?
Yeah, I think anytime that there's crossover anywhere, when you're in those situations, it's like those guys are professionals and they're really good at what they do. And so whenever there's just a question or something, or maybe they have something that's like up in the air, then that's when maybe they just ask your opinion or whatever, something along those lines, and you're there to help them out. And so when you're talking about a particular player, I think those guys, they don't need much of my help, but when you're talking like schemes or maybe places you've been in the past, I think sometimes that can go into a little bit of the conversation. Why maybe you show a clip and say, hey, why are they doing what they're doing, and you can maybe have a little background for that stuff.
Luke, when a quarterback change is made, it's probably self-evident that you want something to be better. What is it that you're looking to get better at the quarterback position as it relates to this offense?
Yeah, I just think on a whole as an offense, right, as you look at it, the part that we have to improve upon is the turnover part of it, right? I think is if we can improve that, we're going to give ourselves a chance to win each and every game. And I think AP's made that loud and clear with our entire team. So not just that position. And so that's really important. If we're going to have success, we got to make sure we take care of the ball.
Luke, I asked AP yesterday about building a culture because he's talked about rebuilding a Raider culture, and we talked about mental toughness. You guys came out with a great game plan, pick six, and it just seemed to collapse. As a coach, how do you build a culture of mental toughness from your side of the ball?
Yeah, no, I think it started way back in April, and I think you start talking about what you want that environment to look like in the room and the brotherhood that we have in that room. I think that's the starting point of it all. And there has to be this trust in one another as you go through the process. And, we're putting in the work, players putting in the work, and everyone trusting one another. And I think as you go through that process, that trust just builds and that brotherhood just builds. And I think that's the starting point of it all. And then, as you're building a new culture, you go through things, right? We talked about it before where this game's a roller coaster, your seasons are roller coasters, and there's these moments. It's not just the lows, it's the highs that you got to learn how to deal with too. And sometimes those are even more difficult. I think that's the important part of it is that you come into work every single day, you're consistent with your approach, the work ethic is there, the toughness is there, and you're every single day, and you prove it to one another, and then you're willing to go do more for your brother whenever that opportunity hits. And I think I said it to our offense, the way that they finished the game and the mindset they had on the sideline and the togetherness, I thought that spoke really high about where we're going.
What were you seeing with Gardner? He had a high completion percentage, but when he missed, he was missing pretty badly. What were you seeing as far as that goes?
No, I think that's it. I think Gardner did a lot of really good things. He really did. I think the expectations of plays, he completely understood it. I think the grasp of the offense, he got it. His ability to function in and out of the huddle, all that stuff. I don't think we saw any of that stuff show up at all. And then, like I said, I think it just comes down to we got to make sure we take care of the football. And this game, especially in the NFL level, it's usually determined by that. And then we've had just had a couple plays here and there that didn't give us an opportunity to win, and so as a whole, we just decided that we're going to try another thing.
Aiden has a pretty different play style from Gardner, more stationary, kind of traditional drop back passer. What do you think he brings to the table, kind of in that space, and how does it change how you operate as a play caller?
Yeah, I think the nice part about going through that competition part of it through the off season was that we all got to know each other, pretty well, and. It's still different, like you said, but at the same time, I think the competitiveness that he brings, the leadership that he brings, and that he has brought even when he wasn't the starter, he's into the game plans, he's been in all that stuff. So there's a confidence and there's a comfort in knowing, we're just going to pick up and roll with this guy. There's no worry about any of that kind of stuff with Aiden. And I think, Aiden has a lot of traits that you guys all saw last year, and we're just going to build off of that and continue to grow. I think as much as anything, he's a guy who hasn't played a ton of ball, and he's going to just keep getting better each and every day. And we've seen that over the last 5 or 6 weeks, even when he wasn't the guy.
You look at, or you assess the performances of Jackson Powers Johnson and DJ Glaze on the offensive line together. Can you just talk about how you think they've played together so far, and also how much do you think that these reps against a really good Steelers defensive line could really play within their development?
Yeah, I think both of them. I mean, to have rookies play as early as they have to play, that's a difficult task. And they're both playing, at a pretty good level, and their play style matches what we're looking for. I think the intelligence level, their ability to handle all the different things that they've had to handle, the caliber of players that they've had to handle, I think all that just speaks volumes to what they're doing in the O-line room, the culture we talked about, with the that they're building in there, and the toughness and the physicality that we're trying to bring in that room, and those two guys epitomize that, and I think it's really cool to see young guys just continue to grow and get better every week, and I think that's what we're seeing. They're getting comfortable with what they're doing. They're getting comfortable communicating across the board, and some young guys that are getting they're following really good leaders like Colton in the room, and I think eventually one day that'll be them too. They just keep getting better, and that's what we're just looking for. Everyone just keep getting better every day.
You might say that about Brock Bowers as well. Made some wow plays last week. Does he challenge your creativity a little bit? Like, wow, what other ways can I get him the ball type of a thing?
Yeah, I think anytime you have talented guys around the room and in that unit room, I think that's the fun part of doing what we do. And and Brock's one of those guys that allow you to do a bunch of different things with one person. And it's our job to try to keep making sure that he has the opportunity to make those plays. And the more and more he does, the more and more people are going to be affected by what he does, and we have to be ready for that stuff too.
Is there anything that has surprised you about him?
I wouldn't say surprised, because really since the day he got here, his professionalism, his approach, and his humility, and and just the work ethic and this mentality of playing the game has always been just really consistent and strong. And so I think that part of it is just it's really cool to see a young guy that has that kind of level of maturity within the game, and I think that part of it, there's an innocence behind it, and there's also this professionalism behind it that's just really cool to see a guy just attack each and every day the way that he does.
Coach, some ways do you feel like it was a benefit or beneficial for Aiden O'Connell to kind of be on the sideline, to be able to get an overview of your offense as he's kind of learning a new playbook in some ways with your offensive style?
I think it's always beneficial, for young guys to be able to watch. Yes, I mean, that part of it's real. I think I've experienced that now in my career too. When young guys get to see it done and go through those processes without having to do it, there's a huge benefit in that. And then there's probably a bigger benefit in being able to go out and practice that and do that and experience it yourself. So there's definitely a benefit, whether it's more or less. I don't know the answer to that, but there's definitely benefit. And the way that he approaches every single day, honestly, is a testament to him and why he'll be ready to go.
Luke, most offensive coordinators, if you lose your number one wide receiver, go into panic mode, but you have two number ones. Will you talk about Jakobi and the importance of getting him involved in this offense?
Yeah, no, he's like we've talked about it here. Cobes is a dynamic guy, both mentally, physically, and leadership-wise. Talk about guys you want to build your culture around. He epitomizes all that stuff, and he's done a great job of. He goes and sets the tone in the running game, right, and then he sets the tone in the pass game on the perimeter. So, he's a huge benefit to have in your back pocket, and we're grateful to have him. And I think it's just he sets the tone, and the rest of the guys in that receiver room, there's no blink in any of those guys. Like they're all ready to go, and no one sees themselves as a 1 or a 5 or anything in between. Those guys are ready to rock and roll, and we expect them to go perform at a high level. And Cobes is a great reason why, because they're following his lead.
Is the job of the offensive line in pass protection different when you have, go from like a guy that wants to maybe use his legs a little bit to a guy that's like back foot in the ground and throw it? Like, is their job change?
Well, I think, it's the responsibility of all 11 on the field to understand what the purpose of the play call is, right? And so there's a point of attack, there's a reason why you call a play, there's a reason why you check to the other play, and I think that's the responsibility of all 11. And so in that regard, I think whenever there's somebody who has particular styles of plays or things that you're trying to accomplish, I would say yes. But when you're going up against the kind of defensive front that we're about to go against, I don't think you're thinking too much about which exactly guy that's behind you. It's more about handling what's in front of you, and so that's what most of the time they're thinking about that more than they're necessarily thinking about who is behind them.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys, thank you so much.
Coach.